How did everyone else feel when they walked through the door, maybe 5 minutes previously? They felt exactly the same. You can't all be the biggest unnatural networker. It's just not going to happen. Everyone feels the same. Everyone feels it to a certain extent. Okay, there's some weirdos who are just these extroverted type who happily go up and talk to anyone. Fair enough. They probably don't feel like that. But most of us aren't like that. Most of us feel that slight sense of nervousness, feeling a bit worried about it. Most people feel like that. So the first thing to think about is, look, everyone else felt the same. So don't worry about it from that perspective. Then the next thing you're going to do is look for body language. The people's body language, when you're there, the people who are networking, tells you a lot about what they're thinking. We give up a lot of information about our body language, what we're thinking through our body language, and we're not aware of what we're doing. Okay? Now, I need 2 volunteers for this. Don't worry, I won't make you say anything. Can I have 2 volunteers? Thank you very much. Come to the front. I need one more. Thank you, sir. Come on up the front. Welcome, Julia and Richard. Julia and Richard. Give Julia and Richard a round of applause. That was a pathetic round of applause. Anyway, never mind. Okay. I want you to imagine that we're at a networking event, okay? In fact, just the 2 of you are talking at a networking event. And let's just imagine that, I'm not saying you're old friends, you've met today, but you're in a really interesting conversation. I want you to mirror, don't look at me, just mirror what you're doing in an interesting conversation. And now freeze frame. Look where they're standing, okay? They're standing right opposite each other. There's no real, it's quite a closed, stay in position, it's quite a closed formation. Their body language is saying, don't come and interrupt me. Now, it may be that they're discussing business. They might even get closer. If there was a personal friendship there, yeah, they might, if it was a loud event, yeah, they might even get closer together, okay? Let's change it around. You've just met at a networking event. You're just chatting. You're there. You're seeing how it goes. Look how it eases out a little bit. Often, we're a bit more open. It may be a bit more side to side. Look for the open body language. You haven't actually moved at all there, but never mind. You did a little bit. No, I saw it. But you're often... Go on, sorry. We knew each other. Oh, you know each other. Right, fair. Oh, you met 2 minutes ago. Okay. No, but it's a bit more side to side. If we were in a 3, I could join this conversation, and we're like this. If we get back into the closed formation, we can even make a closed 3. I could be like this, and it's quite a... Don't go for closed groups. Their body language is saying, don't come in and interrupt us. So if you're nervous about networking and wondering who you should talk to, here's a tip. Don't go and interrupt them. But if their body language is a bit more open, what are they actually saying? They're saying, come and join us. That is what they might not... I mean, they're in the middle of a conversation. They might be talking and thinking and, they're talking about various stuff. But their body language is saying, look, I don't mind being interrupted. Okay? If they were with a big fish character type, they might get a bit more closed into it. Look for the body language. Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming up to help. Round of applause, yes. Another hearty round of applause for you there. So yeah, look for the body language. People will be giving off a lot of clues about what they're thinking just by that. And there's another thing you can do. If you're feeling a bit nervous about being at the networking event, there will be others. Like I said, when they first came through the door, they'll be feeling, oh God, a bit nervous. There's going to be people out there, you'd call it the low-hanging fruit in this sense, people who just go up and introduce them because they're on their own. Now, 2 things get to happen when you just go and introduce yourself to someone who's totally on their own. Number 1, you get into a conversation yourself. Hey, great, you're going to build a relationship with that person. But number 2, how was that person who was on their own thinking? How were they feeling? They were probably a bit worried. They were probably a bit nervous. They were thinking, God, is anyone going to talk to me? And just by going up to talk to them, you've made such a huge step in relationship building terms. You've made them feel more comfortable just in that. So look out for those people who are on their own. If you can't find any of them, go on up and find the ones with open body language. Then a crucial question comes, what are you going to say? What are you going to say? What's your opening line? What's your opening line when you go up and meet someone? Now here's the thing. This isn't rocket science, this bit. I hope you're not coming expecting amazing things, because I'm probably going to say, hi Julia, I'm Charlie.
Hi Charlie, I'm Julia.
It's not rocket science. I'm just going to introduce yourself and say my name. But that was always my biggest fear. What do you actually say when you go up to someone at a networking event? Here's a nice one. If you're joining perhaps a couple of people who are already in conversation, just say, do you mind if I join you? I use that line a lot. Do you mind if I join you? And if you're going someone with open body language, they're not going to mind. You already know that they're saying, we'd like you to join our conversation. Just go up and say, do you mind if I join you? And people will just accept you into the conversation. Clearly, sometimes you get maybe an open 4 or 5, and there's a whole group of people in a sort of semicircle around. If you were to stroll into the middle of that and sort of say, hi, I'm Charlie, and just dive in, yeah, that's probably not going to be the best way to do it. Start at one end and say, do you mind if I join you? And come into the conversation that way. Okay? So, look for the body language, and just a simple introduction like, do you mind if I join you, will really get you going. You've then got to keep the conversation going. Because let's face it, imagine you're with one of these big fish, one of these people who are really going to move your business forward. There's no good if you sort of say, hi, I'm Charlie. I'm an accountant. Oh. There's not much else you can say to that, is there? Sorry, I don't want to offend any accountants in the listening here. But you've got to keep the conversation going. You've got to make it an interesting conversation and grab their attention. What's the tip here then? What do we need to do if we want to keep a conversation going in a networking context? Say again. Open questions. Yeah, I like that tip. Wasn't what I was exactly thinking here, but I think that's fair. Aha. Ask about them. Ask about them. Talk about the other person. Don't talk about yourself. Here's a challenge. We all like to talk about ourselves. We like to talk about ourselves far too much. Talk about them. Ask about them. Here's the benefit, because when you're asking about them, the other person who you want to get into a conversation with thinking, oh, I like this, because they're just letting me talk about me. Because people like to talk about themselves. So ask about them. What are you going to ask them? Here's what we ask them. The W questions, plus how. I like to put that in. What, where, when, how. Any simple questions. What do you do? Where are you based? How did you get into that? What are the trends in your industry? Just ask them about their business. Ask them, and just simple questions. Just having a little stream of questions. Sometimes even you don't want to be seen to be reading them off a checklist and sort of effectively interviewing the person, but just having a few in your mind, just ready to go, makes such a difference in keeping a conversation going. Here's another trick though. When you want to get out of a conversation, how do you do that? Because that's one of the big fears of people who go networking is think, well, this is great, but I don't want to get stuck talking to someone. Has anyone ever been stuck talking to someone at a networking event? Anyone? I should imagine we probably have. It does happen. So how do we get out of a conversation? Because remember, we set ourselves a goal of perhaps talking to 10 people. If you just stay in that conversation, as comfortable as it may be for the inner introvert within you who just doesn't really want to go and talk to someone else, how do we get out of that conversation? Here's a nice one. Julia, can I just borrow you again? Sorry, come up to the front. We've been chatting a while. Hi, Julia. It was really nice to meet you. What does that say? It was, past tense, it was really nice to meet you. We're moving on. That's all it is. Is that impolite in any way? No, it was really nice. I was saying, thank you, you can sit down. I was saying, it's really nice to meet you. But it puts it in the past tense. And just that little subtle thing tells the person you're talking to that the conversation's over. Okay? Okay, next up is follow-up. This is the key to success when it comes to networking. And this is the bit, unfortunately, that most people leave out. We've been to our networking event. We plucked up the courage to go. We set ourselves a goal of how many people we want to speak. We plucked up the courage to get in the front door, get ourselves a coffee, and go and introduce ourselves to someone. We found someone with open body language. We kept a conversation going. We perhaps set up a follow-up conversation over a cup of coffee next week or whenever it might have been. If we don't do this afterwards, the follow-up, then unfortunately the rest was a complete waste of time. Complete waste of time. This is the first test of your credibility. In our organization, in BNI, we talk about the visibility, credibility, and profitability model. And what visibility is when you first meet someone. At a networking event, you start chatting, you meet them, you find out who they are. We can't do business, i.e. the profitability section, until you go through another stage. You have to go through the credibility phase. So visibility, you find out who they are. Credibility, we find out if you're any good. And once you're in profit, once you've done both of those, you can have the profitability stage where you do business together. You perhaps pass referrals to one another, okay? But unless we actually do follow-up, we can't get to that stage because this is the first test of our credibility. I'll give you a real-life example of how this can go really badly wrong. I'm going back in my networking career, quite a long way back. I was at a networking event not a million miles away from here in Greenwich. It was a Chamber of Commerce meeting. And I remember it was one of the first networking events I've been to, and I've done a bunch of networking, and I plucked up the courage and got some business cards and thought that was a good event. A few key actions I had to follow up afterwards. And here's the crucial thing. I'd driven there, and it was really pouring with rain that day. And that's relevant because I'd managed to leave my umbrella in at home. So I came out of the event, and it was just this absolute, just biblical rain just coming down. It was just absolutely pouring rain, and my car was about a 3-minute walk. So I sprinted to the car, got in. It's one of those ones where you just get to the car, even though you've been outside only a few minutes, and you're literally dripping wet. Got in the car, try and brush yourself off, and then I drove off. My intention had been to go through the follow-up straight away. I'd go through the cards and think, right, I've got to call them, I've got to email them, I've got to do that with them, whatever it might have been. But because of this rain, it just didn't happen. I was just soaking wet. And then I got back to the office and put the cards I collected, they put them on the desk, and they put in that very important place. You know that very important place, just by the phone on your desk? Because you think, right, that's where it's the important place. I'm going to do stuff with them then. But then what happens? Your life takes over. You check your emails, the phone goes, whatever happens, life's busy. So I thought, okay, I'll follow up with them people tomorrow morning. The cards are on my desk, right by the phone, I know I'm going to do it, I'll follow up with them then. Next morning, what happens? Again, the day takes over. You don't actually do it. And if it gets, leave it, it just never happens. And unfortunately, the benefit of, or the whole point of going networking in the first place has been lost because you haven't followed up. You haven't passed that first test to see if you're credible and you are going to do what you say you're going to do. Okay? So that's all it is. Follow-up is do what you say you're going to do. That's it. Just do what you say you're going to do. If you say you're going to send an email to someone, send the email. If you say you're going to make an appointment to have a coffee the next week, make that appointment. That's all you've got to do. And then, here's the thing. You'll actually be a really good networker. We've done studies of this in our organisation. We've got thousands of members across the UK, all good networkers, because you have to be a good networker to succeed in BNI. We've surveyed them, and time and again, we've asked the same question. What is the key attribute, what are the key traits of a good networker? And a whole bunch of things come up. You've got to be like an engaging personality, you've got to smile, you've got to be prepared to help people. Those things come up. But number one in the list, always, every time we've ever done the survey is, they say a good networker follows up. It seems so simple, and it gives us unnatural networkers a bit of an advantage. Because we know, especially those extrovert types that are busy talking to everybody, how are they going to remember everybody that they met? We didn't go and speak to so many people because we were a bit nervous about it. And actually, it gives us less follow-up to do, and it makes it easier to remember. The other thing is, little trick, just when you collect someone's business card, and you're interested in, there's some sort of follow-up to do, make a note of what the follow-up is on the back of the business card. Do it right then and there. I even asked, do you mind if I write on the back of your business card? In some cultures, actually, that's required. It's actually considered rude to deface of someone's business card in that way. But I always just ask it and just be polite. No one ever minds. Just write down the follow-up. Send email or book lunch next week or whatever it is. And it just helps you remember it. Is this making sense? Are you happy? Are we still unnatural networkers? I still am, so yeah, don't worry, I accept you are at all. There's a couple of other bits I just want to finish on. One question that comes up very regularly in terms of networking as a subject in general is, well, there's online networking these days, and as an unnatural networker, surely online networking, be it LinkedIn, be it Facebook, be it Twitter, be it whatever network you happen to prefer, isn't that a better way of doing business these days? Isn't that a better way of networking in the 21st century? And I accept there are definitely benefits to online networking as an unnatural networker. Hey, let's face it, I can do it from the comfort of my own home. I never have to go outside. That's brilliant. I don't have to go and meet people. I can just go and engage with people and build relationships with people online. Incidentally, exactly the same process. Don't try and sell to them. Build a relationship. Think about it. When you receive spam email or spam messages on your Facebook selling you something, what do you do with them? Delete, ignore, whatever it is. Okay? So it's exactly the same process as networking face-to-face. But here's the key. I think in the modern world, we absolutely have to be getting involved with online networking, and we also have to make sure we're still doing face-to-face networking. This is why. Online networking, the biggest benefit of it is the chance to build up a wide variety of contacts, build up a very broad network. And it's very easy to do that because you can connect with people very quickly. You can do it over wide geographic areas, globally, if that's your thing. So it's very easy to build up a very wide network of people who can become your contacts. The thing is, though, that gets you the visibility in that model I said. The credibility comes through having the relationship with people. And I accept you can build a relationship with people online. Of course you can. That credibility can develop. But for most small businesses, and I'm assuming most of us are small businesses here, the relationship can only really develop when we start to interact face-to-face. That's when we get the necessary depth of relationship to help move our businesses forward. So you can get the visibility, you get the wide network online. You then marry that with networking face-to-face to get the depth of network. If you join up your networking strategies, that's when networking gets really powerful. So in a modern world, it's not a case of doing just online networking, or if online networking isn't your thing, just going face-to-face. We have to accept that we've got to marry the two together. We've got to get the both together, and that's the way to get success when it comes to networking. So how are we feeling about it? Are there any questions? I'm almost just about at the end of my presentation. Any questions about networking I can answer for anyone while we're here? No? Cool. Well, I've answered everything there is to know about networking. That's ideal. I think we're just about done.